Hey everyone, Dan here. We are just before market close on Wednesday, June 16th. Today we're going to take an updated look at Cleveland Cliffs. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps a lot. And feel free to comment below as well. I check the comments every night, so feel free to share your thoughts, opinions, ideas, contradictions, additional info that you might have, tickers you'd like me to cover, any of those things. All right, so let's jump right in. So, Cleveland Cliffs today is down a bit, certainly not having that catastrophic of a day, considering that, the Fed spoke today and basically inflation is expected to be about 1% higher than it previously was expected to be, and there's growing indications that it's much more likely that rates are going to be hiked sometime next year. And so, that caused some panic in the market today, but it's recovering well in the afternoon, and Cleveland Cliffs is sort of following suit with that. That said, over the past few days here, there have been these huge sell-offs at open. Today, no different. And so I wanted to kind of look and see what price targets we might be able to look for in terms of like support zones below and resistance zones above that we could be used for dip buying opportunities, buying into price strength, trimming positions, locking in profit, that sort of thing. So in order to get those, I'm actually going to zoom out a little bit, because if we can take longer term price action as indications of buying and selling pressure, it dramatically helps even in the present day, even if you're doing shorter term trading. So I did a video on Cleveland Cliffs several weeks back. Basically was looking at this 1896 as a potential bounce zone. We saw that happen to the T essentially right there, and then additional really good dip buying opportunities here, which we saw play out in this region and back here as well, and then cut loss here if it couldn't hold that 1634, which was previous support here. So this chart played out relatively well. I'm going to get rid of it just so it doesn't clutter the screen at the moment, because we're going to look for basically more present day price activity. So I'm actually going to go to the 6 month here. And there's a couple of things. If you do zoom out to the 6 month and you did want to take a bit of a longer view of your trading position with Cleveland Cliffs, my favorites way to play stocks, period, is to play channels. So Cleveland Cliffs is in this relatively long-term up channel. It's been in this channel since the end of January and has held it really well and has had 3 tests of the upper bound, 4 or 5 tests of the lower bound. So it's a really well-established channel. It's about mid-channel right now, so that should be giving it some lift potential if this channel is intent on holding. So I would first look to that, in the way that we play channels typically, if you haven't seen them in my videos before, is we look for the price action to come down toward the bottom of the channel, look for it to hold the channel, confirming that it still is going to respect the channel, dip buy that bounce, and then ride it up toward the upper bound of the channel. And so you can see if you had done that on any of these dips previously, you would have bought around 13, you would have sold at around 20, you would have bought back around 16, you would have sold around 22, you would have bought back around 18, you would have sold around 24. So several good opportunities in Cleveland Cliffs. So a dip toward the bottom of the channel that holds, in my opinion, is a really strong buying opportunity. But that's on sort of like the 4 hour. If we look at the 3 month here and hone in on some tighter targets, there's going to be some good zones here and here. These will be like further supportive of what we might see toward the bottom of the channel if it comes down. And these zones here, these might be really good opportunities for it to bounce while it stays in the channel. And that 19 one would probably, would definitely push it out of the channel at this point, but I would just kind of keep an eye on it, because sometimes it'll leave the channel briefly, but then it'll pop itself right back in. So that's sort of like where this stutter step here could have played a role, as it fell out of the channel, regained the channel, and then tested that bottom again and came off it. So essentially quickly making a higher low, and then that kept it in the channel. So I would just keep an eye on that, but these to me are all potential dip buy zones depending on if and when it comes down here. If it doesn't come down that far, at least for the time being, I would look for a zone right around there. These are a bunch of tight zones, but I mean, we're looking at accommodating both shorter and longer term strategies. So they're going to be tight, so you can just disregard some of them if you have a longer term strategy. I would just look at the channel, to be honest. But you could also just say, I'm going to take every third price target or something like that in order to build your positioning. I'm going to go back here just to see if there's anything that's helpful. No, because then it's going to be, price action is going to be too low. So we are stretching the upper bounds of, where we are in the history of Cleveland Cliffs. So it's going to be a little bit dicey to chart these super concretely on the upside. I don't know why I'm getting a 3 decimal point situation over here on the prices, but it's really bothering me. But anyway, that's what I'm going to look for on the upper side are these price targets here. So, again, my first best opportunity for myself to come into Cleveland Cliffs would be to dip by one of these targets, maybe around 22, just over 22 or just over 21. As it also gets additional channel support. If it comes down relatively quickly, it could definitely get into the $20, like under $21 for a dip buy as well. But that's going to be what I'm primarily looking at. On the upside, if it does continue up from here and you wanted to dip buy into the price strength, you could wait for it to come up and maybe test that $24 zone. And then if it peels back, buy into the support that there should be at $23.31. If we want to take a quick look at the indicators here, the RSI just below mid-range, so definitely opportunity for buying pressure if it wants to come in. And the MACD basically flattening out after this huge run, kind of sticking to the baseline at the moment. That large bearish momentum area in the histogram didn't drag down the MACD too far, so sticking relatively close to the baseline at the moment, so it gives it still plenty of room to slingshot up if it wants, but it's kind of looking like it wants to choose a position, or I guess a next direction rather than position at the moment. So that'll be kind of telling us to if it wants to dip toward this channel or bounce itself up. But that's what I'd be looking for in the days ahead. One other thing that I thought I would kind of draw attention to is, if we look at these sell-offs here in the recent days, big sell-off at open, like I talked about at the top of the video. I guess also really on this day after this big run-up. So big run-up was on the 9th, and then at opens, starting on the 10th and especially on the 14th, 15th, 16th, big sell-offs. And I just wanted to take a look at sort of like the role that shorts might have played in that. So on the 9th was the big run-up, and on the 10th you see a bunch of shorts come in. So 32 short volume ratio. That's very, very high. So that came into play here. So after this big run-up, definitely caught the attention of a bunch of shorts, and they came in heavily to suppress the price there. It was able to recover in the after hours and in the pre-market and opened up relatively high again and got pushed down really hard here on the 11th. You see still basically 4 full days here, to be honest, because the high 20s is also a very high short volume ratio. So the shorts definitely came in when there was this big run up here, really that started back here around $19, right? Ran it all the way up to like nearly 25, definitely caught the attention of a bunch of shorts. And on the 11th there, on the 10th, they started to really jump in and haven't relented since then. So they peeled off a little bit, but still coming in quite heavy. I would suspect that after today, you might see that leveling off a bit. But we'll see later in the day when the updated data comes in. But this is just to note, even if it is making its way up this channel, just keep an eye on any time that there is a big run up. It does look like shorts tend to pile in and help push the price back down, so for better or worse. But just be aware that that pressure is going to present itself, so I would just keep an eye on that as an additional factor. So even if there is a lot of good news, a lot of hype, a lot of growing volume in Cleveland Cliffs, with those big run-ups, you're going to start fighting the shorts. That's just the reality of the current situation. All right, well, thanks for watching this video. I definitely wish you the best of luck in this one. I'll keep folks updated here and on my Twitter. My Twitter handle is in the description below. And I'm sort of pretty intent on taking a position toward the bottom of the channel on this one. I guess one last note on channels, since I didn't mention it before, all channels eventually break. So just know that at some point, this will fall out of the channel or burst out the top of the channel and not return back into it and form something new. So just keep that in mind. That's why you want to make sure that it's holding the bottom bound of the channel before you take that dip buy. All right, folks. Well, thanks a bunch for watching. I hope your trading week is turning out well, and I will see you in the next video.